guys, welcome back to Mr. Elwell's classroom. Today we're going to talk about place values, rounding off whole numbers, decimals, and rounding off money. Okay, so the reason that we're talking about our place values first is because you round off to certain places, and so we need to make sure that we fully comprehend place values before we can move on. So I want you to think of your base place value as the ones place. Okay? The ones place is your base value. This is as low of a whole number as we can get, the ones place. So then the place right to the left of that is the tens place, because that's where we measure our 10 numbers, the next digit. So if once we get to 9 and then as soon as we get to 10, we add a digit, that next digit in our number is called the tens place. Now let's say that we added numbers all the way up to 999 and then we hit 100. We get one more digit. What do we call this digit in our number? This is called the hundreds place. Okay? And then next would be the thousands place. If I counted all the way up to 999, added one more, that's the thousands place. Okay, so we have ones, tens, hundreds, thousands. Now, the reason I wanted you to think of the ones place, we're going to draw an arrow there, the ones place as your base value is because if you think of that as your base value, then you can think of the places on either side of it, decimal places or whole numbers, as mirroring from the ones place. So that's your base value. And then we go to the first number in our decimal places. This is called the tens. So if they mirror, this is called the tenths. So everything on the right side on the decimal places is going to end with a TH sound at the end. But it's going to have the same root word as the ones on that are the same amount away on the left side, the whole numbers. Okay? So if this is the tens and this is the tenths, what do you think the next one would be? It would be the hundredths place, right? Hundredths. Because this is the hundreds, that's the hundredths. And then we'll go one more, and that would be the thousandths place, right? With a TH at the end, thousandths. Okay? So thousands, thousandths, hundreds, hundredths, hundreds, tens, tenths. So they all mirror off of the ones place. So think of that as your base place, and then it's easy to remember from there. And we could go infinitely with places in both directions. But for the sake of time, we're going to stop with the thousands and thousandths place for right now. So remember that mirror image. So why do we round off numbers in the first place? You want to round off numbers because sometimes we measure things that change a lot. They don't have a constant set number, and it would be really hard to keep a measurement of something that's constantly changing, like population. We round with population. When we're talking about population, we round, just emphasizing that. Because what happens with population? People die every day, people are born every day, people move in and out every day. So we know around about how many people live certain places, but we don't always know an exact number. So when we're rounding, so that's why we round numbers. But let's say that we were rounding off the population of Lewisburg, West Virginia. And let's say the exact number of the population was 3,517 people. The first thing that you're going to do is it's going to tell you what place it wants you to round to. Let's say we want to round to the hundreds place. Okay? So the first thing I need to do is identify the hundreds place. So the hundreds place would be right here, right? Because ones, tens, hundreds, okay? So that's the place I'm going to round to. So I'm going to underline it. And I'm underlining in red so that it's clear where we are, okay? So then what you're going to do is you're going to look for your what's called your determining digit. Your determining digit is the digit that's exactly to the right of the number you're rounding to. So in this case, it would be the 1. Okay? What you're going to do with your determining digit is if it's under 5, that's 4, 3, 2, or 1. So if it's under 5, then you're going to keep this number that you're rounding to exactly the same. And that would, so we have, and all the numbers before it would stay the same as well. So that's going to give us a 3, and then 5, and then you're going to end the number in zeros. So we would round that number to 3,500. Okay? But say, well, what if the determining digit is greater than 5? Well, we're going to say, what if it's 5 or greater? Okay? So let's say that our number was 3,576. I still want you to round to the hundreds place. But our number is 3,576. So we're rounding to the hundreds place. And our determining digit is that 1 to the right. And in this case, it's the 7. Okay? So the 7 is 5 or greater. So what we're going to do is this number is going to go up 1. If the determining digit is 5 or greater, the digit that we're rounding to goes up 1. And all the ones before it to the left still stay the same. So it would go up 1 to 6, and then you still just end your number in zeros. Alright, so what about if you're rounding off decimal places? If you're rounding off decimal places, it's the same concept as a whole number, but just a little bit different. So let's say that we have the number 3.562. Okay, and I wanted you to round to the tenths place. We find the tenths place. And then you'd look for your determining digit, which is the same way to find it as a whole number. You one digit to the right. And is it 5 or greater? Yes. So we're going to round this number up. So our new number would be 3.6. And this is where it's different, because instead of ending the number in zeros, we're just going to leave the rest of the numbers off. And that's because we know already that zeros at the end of a decimal don't matter. That's why we can annex zeros at the end of a decimal to help us compare them together. That's why we can drop them off at the end of a decimal if they're the same amount. So we're just not going to put zeros at the end. We'll round that number up and then we'll just stop there. Okay? Or if we had 3.534, I told you to round to the hundredths place. Here's the hundredths place. Determining digit, 1 to the right. And it's less than 5, so we know we're going to round down. We're going to keep this number the same. So our new number would be 3.5. It's a bad 5. It's hard to write 5s backwards. 3.5, and then this is going to stay as a 3. And we don't add zeros to the end because it's a decimal. Zeros at the end of a decimal do not matter. Okay, so 3.53 would be our answer. It's a pretty simple concept, same as rounding off whole numbers pretty much, except we're dealing with decimals. So instead of ending the numbers in zeros, you just drop the rest of the numbers off. Money's just a little bit different because they're going to use different terminology. They're going to talk about dollars and cents instead of place values. So what if I had $3.54? And I wanted you to round that up to the nearest, oh, there's a glare there. I'm going to have to figure out how to get that glare to go away in later videos. We'll figure it out. Anyway, $3.54. And I wanted you to round to the nearest dollar. Well, where's the nearest dollar? It's right here, right? Okay. And I'm going to do the same process. My determining digit is 1 to the right, even if it's a decimal place over. It's still only one place value over. So it's 5 and we know 5 or greater means that we're going to round up. So that would mean that the number I round up to is $4. And money's a little bit different because with money we are going to keep those 2 cents places over here. All right, we're gonna keep those zeros at the end of that decimal. That would round up to $4. You say, well, what if we're rounding off cents? Yeah, we won't do this very much, but sometimes you'll use this. Let's say they gave you a problem like this. I've seen a few of them in your book. Say they give you something like $6.57. It's not 578 cents. It's 57 cents and 8 hundredths of a cent. Well, 8 hundredths of a cent, we know that that would be like 1/8 of a penny. So, or not 1/8, but 8 100ths of a penny. And we can't get that. We can't get that many pennies. So we're going to round to the nearest cent. And pennies are what we measure cents in, and they would be measured in the hundredths place, right? And that makes sense because there are 100 pennies in a dollar. So we want to round to the nearest cents, to a number that makes sense. So there's our cents place, the hundredths place, which would be the nearest cent. Our determining digit would be the 8. And so we're going to round up, which gives us $6.58, right? And that's pretty much all there is to rounding, guys. It's a pretty simple concept, and I know we already went over it, but just in case you were struggling with it or you need a refresh since it's been so long since we've been in school, I wanted to give this video for you guys. So, that's all I got for today. This has been Mr. Elwell. You have been a 5th grader, or 6th grader if you're watching this, but this was mainly for the 5th grade. And I'm going to steal my little sister's catchphrase she uses on her videos. I was thinking about not stealing it, but I think it's very appropriate. Remember, guys, wash your hands. Peace.